Hey everyone, thank you for joining me this afternoon. Welcome to Catskills Commerce. I'm Ray Pucci, and as president of the Delaware County Chamber of Commerce, I am honored every single day to work with the most energized and optimistic people I know. Business owners, business leaders, their staffs, and together, and that's the key word here, folks, together we work to move our local economy forward. The Chamber believes that prosperous businesses support prosperous communities. And in these days, let's restate that a little bit. The Chamber believes that healthy communities begin with healthy businesses. We advocate for public policies that create an environment in which private enterprise may thrive. We promote our region as a great place to visit, to live, to learn, to work, and to play. We create programs that enhance our communities and improve our quality of life. We believe in collaboration, and we believe that the surest way to success is a partnership among business, government, community groups, and education that is mutually beneficial and based in respect, trust, and honesty. Finally, the Chamber believes in the potential of this region, our residents, our institutions, and all who call this special place home, or who have an interest in our collective success. That's the message. That's why I'm here every other Friday talking with you. That's the purpose of this program. It's to help spread the news that we remain a vibrant and diverse place here in the Catskill Mountains of New York State. Wow, we got a lot to talk about today, or I got a lot to talk about today. Thanks for joining me. Sorry that program started a little bit later. The program before this ran a little bit late. Lots of things to tell you though. A little bit later on in the program, Bill Wagner, who is the Transportation and Mobility Management Director for the Rural Health Network of South Central New York, is going to be joining me, talking about some of the programs, some of the services, I should say, of Get There, that works with employees, help people find ways to get to work, to get to doctor's appointments, to have vaccinations. So Bill and I are going to talk a little bit later on in the program about some of those services and about some ways that the Delaware County Chamber and Get There are collaborating to hopefully deliver some type of micro transit system here in Delaware County. I'm really excited about that. But first, let's talk about a few things that are coming up. It's summer. Well, unofficial summer. And sure looks like, looking at the weather forecast for this weekend, and we'll talk a little bit more, we'll get into that a little bit more in the program. It looks like summer's making a debut return this weekend. And I love it. Last weekend, Memorial Day weekend usually is the unofficial launch of summer here in the Catskills, and we had rather very unsummer-like temperatures. But I have to tell you, I know many of you too were out and around. We had a lot of people visiting from other areas of the state to see what the Catskills are all about, but also just folks, folks like you and me who live here, who have the privilege of living here, getting out and around and visiting and talking and seeing people. I attended Remember on the last program, Jerry Pellegrino joined me from Strickland Hollow Distillery, and we talked about the event that he had coming up over at their barn in Maridale. And despite 43 degrees and rain, there were about 75 people or so at that event. We could at times see our breath, but that didn't diminish the enthusiasm and the fun that people had. So it's time to get out and get around, and we're slowly, I think, hopefully not so slowly, we're building back up to that culture of confidence, if you will. For so many months now, we had this fear factor, this culture of fear almost. Don't walk outside, you're gonna die. That's what we were told. Stay home, go away. And a lot of people, fortunately, didn't pay much attention to some of that. And our economy continued. Actually, our economy, I think, grew during 2020, at least here in Delaware County. And we're still seeing the results of that. You know, someone, my neighbor stopped by at the event, someone who lives up the road from me, and said, well, gee, you must know everybody here. And I looked around the room, and maybe a handful of people. There were really very few people that I really knew attending at that particular event. So things are changing, and things are changing very quickly, and we're coming back into some sense of confidence again here in the Catskill Mountains, that we're able to talk with our neighbors and engage with one another. But being that it's June, we start thinking about graduation. A lot of colleges, community colleges, and others had commencement, graduation ceremonies over the last couple, 3 weeks. We're starting to see those newly minted college graduates float back, trickle back into the community. But it's graduation time here in Delaware County. And those newly minted college graduates that I mentioned are returning home. They're eager to begin their new lives. And in a couple weeks, our local schools are going to start celebrating the achievements of their graduates. And certainly, I think you will join me in sharing their enthusiastic expectations for the future of all of our young adults. But often when we do that, they have a desire, many of them, to stay here in our area, to become engaged, active members of our community. And that's tempered sometimes by this notion that opportunities lie elsewhere, and that careers just can't be found locally. I believe, the Chamber believes, and I'm sure you believe, that our future here in Delaware County and our Catskill Mountain region is bright. Our local manufacturers are creating leading edge products and truly are competing in global, worldwide markets. Our restaurants, lodging, galleries, museums, theaters, they've all had a really tough 2020. And a lot of them are still having a pretty tough 2021. But they continue, they persist, those owners persist in continuing this century-old tradition of welcoming visitors and residents into our fold, into our region. Our farmers and our agricultural producers continue to diversify and develop new markets for their products. Our retail and service business owners, they add to the fabric of our community. And they truly help keep our communities vital places. And look at the growth that we have seen over the past even 6 months in new businesses. And thank you, those businesses who are underwriters to the station. Your continued support and belief in what we're doing here at WIOX helps keep us on the air and delivering that message about the Catskill Mountains. Now, the best news about all this is that many of them are seeking new employees. Now, there are some who seem to enjoy, at least, telling everyone that, there are no jobs here. And they just wring their hands saying, our youth are our greatest export. Nonsense. Nonsense. It's a false concept. And this myth stops here and it stops now. There are excellent positions, professional, technical, entry-level service, beginning right now, available right now, with wages that really can support families. More importantly, many of these positions may lead to productive and satisfying careers. Right here in Delaware County in the Catskill Mountains. So here's your task. When you attend some local graduation program, I want you to celebrate the accomplishments of our children. They deserve our accolades. They deserve our respect for their perseverance over this past 12, 15, 18, however long it's been, months. But be sure to tell them too that Delaware County is part of their futures. Don't discourage them. Please don't discourage them in their desire to remain in this community. They deserve that support from you as well. I'm excited about where we're going. I'm excited about helping take the county in some new positive directions. And as you'll hear a little bit later when I talk with Bill Wagner, there are ways that you can participate in that. Well, let me talk about one way that you can participate right now. A couple months ago, it's been that long, I guess, Congress passed the American Recovery Plan. In that plan, allocated direct funding from the federal government to counties and states, but counties all across the United States. Local municipalities, towns, villages, school districts, I think as well, are getting those funds as well. They're getting those dollars coming through the state first, but they're ending up in their pockets. Here in Delaware County, that number in total, about 8.6 million that's coming into the county government, another more than that, 5 million or so going to those local municipalities. In total, there's some 13 to 14 million dollars that's coming in. And there's some strings attached to those dollars, of course. Municipalities can use that to offset some of their expenses that they had during the pandemic if they suffered a loss. Well, I don't know of a single municipality here in Delaware County, at least, that suffered a municipal loss because of COVID. Tax bills still went out. Tax collections still came in. In fact, the sales tax revenue in Delaware County increased over 10% during 2020, according to the New York State Comptroller's Office. And so here's hopefully at least a once in a generation opportunity to really have some conversations about needs. Those dollars are supposed to go to support those residents, businesses, and nonprofit groups that were negatively impacted by the pandemic. That's the stated purpose. I know everyone's waiting to see what the rules are going to be, but that's the stated purpose that came from Congress. So here's what I'm asking you to do. I'm asking you to contact your town supervisor. Say that you want public discussions. You want some public dialogue, some public conversations about how those dollars are going to be spent here in Delaware County. And if you're over in Ulster County, do the same over there to your county legislature. And anywhere else that you happen to be hearing me. It's too important. Already we're hearing about some townships saying, well, you know, we need a new roof on our salt shed. That's how we're going to spend our monies. That's an abomination. As far as I can see the legislation. And I want to give my kudos to Alan Hinckley and the board here in the township of Roxbury, who voted, I believe, at their last meeting to say we want some input from the public as to how we're going to spend those dollars. I don't know what Roxbury's getting, 150,000 or whatever that number is. That's what governance really is. It's seeking that type of input. So please, please, please do that. And when you see those events happening, either at a county level or in your own town, attend, participate, send some ideas, engage, as they like to say, in the process. Speaking of engaging in the process, you know that in my role as president of the chamber, certainly one of our primary functions is tourism promotion. We're the tourism promotion agent for Delaware County, and much of all my staff time is spent in that direction, but we're more than just tourism promotion. By the way, our new travel guides are out, and if you want, go to Great Western Catskills and you can get more information about that. GreatWesternCatskills.com, that is. One of the things that we take very seriously is our obligation to our members particularly, but to businesses as a whole, to be their advocate, both at the county level, at the state, and at the federal level, all those levels of government. There is a bill that is circulating right now through the state legislature that I brought to the attention of members of the Delaware County Board of Supervisors a couple days ago. I hope that this is going to be a resolution regarding this is going to be on their agenda for among their pre-filed resolutions for their next meeting. There's a bill moving through the New York State Senate and the Assembly right now called the Climate and Community Investment Act that would levy a climate pollution fee. That's their language coming from the legislature, from the legislation, on all carbon-based fuels, including petroleum, propane, municipal solid waste, and such biofuels as wood and wood pellets. This fee at its initial levels it's been calculated, will add about 55 cents to every gallon of gasoline that you purchase. At its initial levels, it will add nearly $150 to the cost of a cord of wood. When this fee is fully implemented, the fee, just the fee for a cord of wood will be about $500. Right now, a cord of wood costs about what, $200? Full cord, not a face cord. Full cord about $200. The cost for that same cord of wood, once this fee is fully implemented, will be close to $700. So what's the state going to do with all this? This new revenue? They're going to create a separate fund that's going to support, in large part, mass transit programs, primarily down in this New York City metropolitan area, because that's where most of those transportation mass transportation projects are located. We think that this is going to have adverse impact on businesses, on all of us here in New York State. It's going to become an even more challenging environment for job creation, for economic development, and for private investment. We hope that the Delaware County Board is going to vote to add their voice to lots of others in opposition of that bill. I think it's important. And I've been in touch with many of our local representatives, our assembly representatives and senators, and they certainly are and stand in opposition to this bill. So we will see. Hopefully, it sounds like there may not be enough time in this legislative session for the bill to finally move through. And what often happens in that case is that they creep back up into the next session. So while this may not happen in 21, it probably will be back on the table in 22. One last note I want to mention, and you can find more information about this by going to the Chamber's website at delawarecounty.org. There's going to be a new program that New York State is releasing next week for businesses, which for many of our businesses here in Delaware County, as small businesses, if you were affected by, if your revenues, let's be very specific, if your revenues declined 25% in 2020 as versus 2019, you may be eligible for a $5,000 grant from New York State. Yes, I said grant. One of the great fictions out there is that there's all this money available in grants, and that is a fiction. This is one of those few occasions when we do have monies available, that New York State is making monies available to businesses to help support them. So the application has not yet been made available. When it does, the Chamber and County Economic Development will certainly let you know. The application period is supposed to start on Thursday, June 10th. When you do go to that site, be patient. There's going to be a lot of folks who are going to be electronically climbing over each other to try to access this, and wouldn't be surprised if the site were to be disabled for some period of time, just because of the amount of users. So be patient, be persistent, take a look at it right now. And again, you'll find some more information about that. If you go to the Chamber's Facebook page, you'll see a link to the state site, and get all your papers in order to get ready for that. Let's you're listening to WIOX, the Catskills Commerce, here on WIOX Community Radio. We are live and local here in the Catskill Mountains at 91.3 FM. We're on MTC Cable Channel 20. We're at 107.5 on the campus of SUNY Delhi, and those points near SUNY Delhi's campus. Of course, on any smart device through the Radio FM app, and you can listen to us anywhere at wioxradio.org, where, of course, it's easy to donate if you like what you're hearing. Bill Wagner is going to be joining me in just a moment. Let's take a look at really lovely weather forecast for the next few days. For the remainder of the afternoon, we have a chance of some showers. It's still kind of cloudy out there. We got a high this afternoon going up into the upper 70s. Overnight tonight, we got a slight chance of some thunderstorms, maybe a shower or two passing through. Lows tonight only going down to the mid 50s. Tomorrow, sunny, sunny, sunny all weekend long. But tomorrow, let's start with Saturday. Tomorrow, sunny, sunny, sunny skies. Highs going up to 85 degrees. Oh, mama, I love it. Saturday night, under mostly clear skies, temperatures are going to drop down to a very pleasant 62. And then on Sunday, if you like Saturday, you're going to really like Sunday. More sun in the forecast, no clouds out there, maybe just a few passing ones, with highs on Sunday, maybe even getting up to one of those rare 90-degree days on Sunday. And then lows overnight on Sunday going down again to down to the low 60s. And in case you decide to extend your weekend that you're up here, forecast for Monday, more sun in the forecast. Highs again going up to about 90 degrees. Great time to get out and around and discover and see what's happening here in Delaware County in our Catskill Mountain region. Well, now it's my pleasure to introduce to you Bill Wagner. Bill is the mobilities manager for the the Rural Health Network. Bill, too many different groups here. The Rural Health Network of South Central New York. And Bill is involved, leads an effort called Get There that we're going to talk about that provides some transportation solutions to residents here in Delaware County. Bill, thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. I know you had to jiggle your schedule a little bit to accommodate me today, and I do appreciate that. Welcome to Catskills Commerce.
Thank you, Ray, and no problem. Absolutely a pleasure to be here.
So, Bill, tell us about, well, for purposes of full disclosure, I should probably start by saying that very recently your office, the Rural Health Network of South Central New York, awarded the Delaware County Chamber a 2-year, with the option of a 3rd year, grant to look at developing a microtransit system here in Delaware County. And I want to talk a little bit, but I think we'll wait a little bit later on the program. I want to talk with you a little bit about what you think microtransit means in a place like Delaware County. And I really want to focus first on some of the existing, that's something that I hope that together we're going to develop. That is probably, at least a couple years or so away. Let's talk about what you're doing right now here in Delaware County and the Get There program.
Sure, Ray. First, I'll start with mobility management is really the practice of taking all the available transportation resources and creating better ways to utilize them, whether it be better ways of being more cost effective or better ways in providing a higher level of service. Mobility is so important for anyone, regardless of their age or where they live. But when you look at rural Delaware County, and I should, let your listeners know, I grew up in rural Delaware County in Deposit, New York.
So, I didn't know that.
Yes. So I do know a little bit about the county. It's so vital. We don't have a bus pulling up in front of our house every 10 minutes where we can climb on and get to a destination that we want to go. There's limited resources in the county, and we do have to figure out a plan and a strategy to better utilize those. We also, what Get There is doing currently in Delaware County is we have a connection to care program where we will assist individuals getting to healthcare appointments or meeting other healthcare needs. You can call our call center. We're open Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Call, you'll talk to a mobility and transportation advocate, and they will help you determine what the exact need is, what resources are available, and we can even cover some or all of the costs for those trips. So
Hmm,
you can call, and I'll give you the number now and we can mention it later, but it's
good.
855-373-4040. Like I said, call if you have a transportation need, you need to get there. Um, we can find out what's available. Sometimes we utilize volunteer drivers. We partner with Delaware Office for Aging and help support their volunteer driver program. We're in the process of developing a regional volunteer driver program, and that's growing every day, where we will assign a volunteer. We will reimburse them for the miles that they drive, and they will come pick you up, take you to your appointment, pick you up when you're done with your appointment, and take you home. We also utilize taxi services. We will look at public transportation if it's available, which, we mentioned the micro transit system. Currently, Delaware County is one of the few, if not the only county in New York State that has no public transit system. And that is not a new thing. This has been, a situation that Delaware County has been, dealing with for years. And when often when people think of public transit, they think of, those big buses, and you think of, downtown Manhattan where you can,
Hmm.
every 5 minutes get on a different bus.
Hmm.
That's not going to work in Delaware County. You don't want it to be in Delaware County. I mean, think about what is so beautiful about Delaware County, and the small, rural, winding, twisting roads, and the lack of density in people, and all of that, and to sort of pollute that or taint that with big buses going on through all the time. We need to come up with a better way. So a lot of my work is, how do we develop a new or define a new public transit system, something that works in rural upstate New York, works in rural Delaware County. So that's what I'm excited to, partner with the Delaware Chamber. I think the energy that you have and that you bring to the table, and the ability to bring other partners in, now is a great time to start planning, start developing, throw out some innovative strategies to the New York State Department of Transportation, the Federal Transit Administration, and see if we could get a new model of public transit, a micro transit system that could provide a higher level of service to Delaware County residents.
So, Bill, you mentioned that right now the services of Get There includes if you have a doctor's appointment. Is there an age requirement on that?
Nope, there is no age requirement. Anyone that has a need is eligible. And, you know, I'm really proud to say this about this program. One of the things when I came to the Rural Health Network and started working in here, um, this is a program that provides, that serves a need. We don't require a lot of proof of income eligibility, or, we don't request pay stubs or bank statements, or what. I don't care how much money you have in your checking account. If you call me up and say, I have a need to get to an appointment, we will figure out how to get you there and help you with the costs. It's such a refreshing, to have people call you because they need help, and you provide it without a lot of invasive
Hmm.
policy and procedure for them. I should also mention that beginning in July, we'll be expanding our transportation to employment program, where we will help people who may be returning to work. There's a lot of people put out of work with COVID, lost their jobs. They're slowly starting to come back. Maybe they need some help initially to help cover that commuting costs to and from work till they get back on their feet. And we have a program that will address that. So that we'll be rolling that out into Delaware County later this summer. We're excited
Great.
about that, and that's will be another very valuable service to Delaware County.
And one of the things that you do too through the Get There program is kind of help uh, coordinate ride shares.
Absolutely. Again, as we talk about new ways to look at transportation and meeting transportation needs, um, you know, many people are familiar with the term carpooling and everything, but we're looking at ways that you can ride share, whether it be in a car, such as a carpool, or whether it's van pools. We have, part of our transportation to employment program is to work with an employer and employees and help develop a van pool where a group of people could, come from a similar area and go to the same place of employment, same shift. They'll be, driving to and from work. It builds community. It cuts down on the cost. For an employer, it's a great way to improve retention, improve, you don't want to be part of, you don't want to let six other people that are in your van pull down by showing up late. So it gets people there on time. There's a lot of benefits to that type of program. So we work at developing those as well.
Yeah, anecdotally, we all have we all know those stories of, I know, the stories of a couple people who, you'll enjoy this. I was telling the story to someone a couple days ago, and um, I was telling him about these, some folks who live in Hobart, who work up in Stamford. And because they don't have driver's licenses, these two or three guys walk every day, those 3+ miles, despite what the weather forecast, despite what the weather is or anything like that. And he said, "Oh yeah, I know those guys." He said, "Now they got bikes, so they're getting a little bit faster." But he said, "Yeah, I used to pick him up." He drove a bus. I won't say for whom. And he said, "Yeah, I'd pick him up every so often in the bus when it was, 10 degrees outside." I said, "Come on, get in the bus. Just, stay down so no one sees you." So, that's the determination that a lot of our neighbors have to work and improve their life situation, and how transportation becomes an obstacle
Absolutely.
for them. And speaking of transportation or lack of transportation as an obstacle, one of the things that you told me just a couple weeks ago that I didn't realize is that you're now providing transportation to those people who want to get a COVID vaccine.
Yes, definitely. Rural Health Network made a commitment. When the vaccines became available, um, transportation is a barrier to healthcare for many, many reasons in many places. And we were determined that um, any individual that wanted to be vaccinated would have the opportunity, regardless of their transportation. If we need to send a private cab to pick you up and take you to the vaccination site, um, we have worked with rural villages to set up shuttles. We've had people transported in cabs, volunteer drivers, vans, buses, whatever they need. We came up with
Wow.
a solution to get people to vaccinations. And my early numbers for April and March, we had over 700 individuals that were able to get vaccinated that didn't have transportation. I think that's a huge benefit to our community, to those individuals. And whether you're an employer that's losing time out in your workforce because of COVID, or whether it's with individuals in quarantine or people getting COVID, getting this vaccination is really the only way we're going to get on top of this and improve the situation.
Well, you're absolutely right, and those are some pretty fantastic numbers. The and gosh, I wish I knew that you guys were doing that earlier. We had especially when the vaccination eligibility was only for those 65 and older, and we didn't have a number of sites at that point. We had seniors for whom just a 20-mile trip from Walton to Delhi was a major logistical nightmare, and they were being told, "Well, you got to go to Potsdam, or you got to go to Plattsburgh, or you got to go to Syracuse." This was even before the facility opened in Binghamton, and folks was like, "What are you talking about? I can't get there once, let alone twice for a
Yep.
second shot." So having that service, so those again, Bill, hey, give everyone that phone number again, please, because there might be someone out there who, transportation is a huge issue and is the reason why they have not yet gotten that vaccination. So how can folks get in contact with your
They
office?
they can reach us at 855-373-4040, or you can reach us on the web, on our website, or email at get there, all one word, scny.org. Just send an email there and we will get it out, respond to you, and help set up a trip.
And remember, folks, Get There has two T's. That's GETTHERE. CNY dot, was that dot
scny.org.
SCNY dot org, and that stands for South Central NY.org. Bill, let's talk about microtransit, and we're starting that process. There's been discussion in Delaware County for 10 years, a lot of head scratching about how we do this, and I think you're right. I think the perception from a lot of folks is that, well, you're not going to have, what are you going to be doing? Running buses? Well, no, but we're going to figure out something that is going to use the existing technology, maybe some private vendors, and I have to say, I want to thank you and thank the folks at the team at Rural Health for their confidence in what we proposed at the Delaware County Chamber. Our focus is a little bit different, and maybe that's caught some people's attention. Our focus of our proposal was focusing on changing the focus to employers and looking to see how we can move people to work and as opposed to for knowing that there are other support mechanisms in place for seniors, for medical appointments and things like that. So in your mind's eye, you gave us a little bit of a definition of what microtransit might mean. In your mind's eye, how is that system? How does that system operating?
So I believe, and Delaware County has started this process, but I think the first step in this is to get a team together. And what was exciting about the Delaware County Chamber of Commerce proposal was that you have reached out and you've got some businesses interested in working with you. You've got some nonprofits that are willing to work for you. And I think, pulling that group together, identifying the real needs or the prioritizing of the needs. It's easy to say transportation is a need in Delaware County, but where's it, let's put something in a plan that we can have an impact on. Let's identify the top priorities first.
And like you said, and what does that mean? What is transportation in a place, in a rural Delaware County where we don't have a city? Our village centers are relatively small. Our population is rather distributed, let's say, and we have different almost different spheres of activity. You got that Route 30 corridor that maybe that's based out of Margaretville and runs from that runs up toward Roxbury and Grand Gorge, and you have another one that may be Walton centric, and another one that may be Sydney centric, and another one that may be Delhi or maybe Stanford, and another one that's certainly Hancock. And how do you tie them? Maybe we don't tie them in together. Maybe they, the initial steps are running within those different spheres to help move people around. And you're right, it's going to be a lot of discussion, it's going to be a lot of conversation, it's going to be a lot of outreach. And one of the things that probably you mentioned the first step is bringing those partners together, but one of those very early steps will be some of that public outreach where folks do have the ability to force some input. It's about, particularly when we're talking about transportation and lack of transportation. It's one of our goals, I think, and I think I know you share this goal, is we need to engage all the different segments of our communities. And as I like to, as we're going through our leadership class, and a lot of you who are listening to us, listening to me on a regular basis, you've heard me talk about our leadership program and how it has to be broad-based. It has to bring in all those different parts of our communities, including, as I like to say, the folks that your mom didn't let you play with when you were a kid. Because those are often, in some cases, those are the folks that most need the things that we're talking about here. We may be talking about folks who are in recovery, in a long overlooked segment of our potential workforce.
Exactly, Ray. And, studies show in upstate New York, transportation costs are the second highest household cost that a family incurs. And sometimes it goes up and is the number one cost.
I
I
can
think by
imagine.
pulling together multiple stakeholders, identifying those sectors you mentioned, it's easy for me to assume I know what the needs in Delaware County are, but the needs in Sydney do not mirror the needs in Hancock, and
Absolutely.
and
Good
and vice
point.
versa. So a micro transit model would identify those targeted needs and maybe has a different strategy to address each of those individual needs. It's going to take some innovation. In transportation, this is an exciting time to be doing the work that I do. The technology that's come out every day is just mind-boggling. Um, and you'd think we can put a man on the moon, but we can't solve Delaware County's transportation problem. We can't figure out how to get someone from Hamden to Oneonta. I don't believe that to be the case. I think that you just got to look at things in a little bit different perspective, pull the stakeholders together, look at a partnership between public and private sectors, involve, New York State Department of Transportation when they can help out. There's a lot of pieces to this puzzle, and I do believe there's a solution, Ray. It's not going to be the big buses driving around like they do in Manhattan or Brooklyn or any of those. That it's going to be different looking, but it can be effective.
Bill, I love that. I love the analogy of putting a man on the moon. Remember, one of the electrical connectors that enabled the Apollo missions to put that team on the moon back in 1969. Those electrical connectors were produced in Sydney, in Delaware County, New York.
Yep.
So clearly, we need to find that new connector for 2021 that's going to allow someone to find some sort of transportation from Hamden to Delhi, let alone Hamden
Exactly.
to Oneonta. Bill Wagner is with the Get There and part of the Get There program, which is part of the Rural Health Network of South Central New York. Bill, thanks for joining me this afternoon. Again, one more time, how can folks get in contact with you in case they need information on getting to a medical appointment, if they need help with rideshare, and find out just more ways that they can get involved, maybe even as a volunteer driver with the Get There program. How can folks get in contact with you?
Absolutely. You can call us at 855-373-4040. It's Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Or you can send us an email at gettherescny.org.
Bill Wagner, Rural Health Network of Central New York, the mobilities manager. And thanks for joining me this afternoon.
Well,
I'm
thanks for having me,
thrilled that
Ray.
we're going to be working together on creating some new solutions here in Delaware County.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ray.
Talk to you soon.
Enjoy your weekend.
Thank you. You as well. And thank you for joining us this after joining us. Bill's here this afternoon here on WIOX Community Radio. Coming up in a couple moments, Scott Boggs is going to be joining us here in the studio and for his Cat's Chill program. Not too chilly here in the studio. So maybe Scott can help lower the temperature here in the studios but as long as he doesn't lower it outside, we're all enjoying this warm span.